Evelyn. And our organization and our website is advocatesofhealthyminds.org is all about mental health and helping people overcome some of the mental health issues that they may be going through in their lives. And you are welcome to look at our website, which again is advocatesofhealthyminds.org. We teach all kinds of classes about overcoming actually coping skills for anxiety, depression, PTSD, suicide prevention. So every topic, we're here every Thursday morning at 10:30 from 10:30 to 11. And so every topic will be somehow related to mental health issues and the different things that happen in all of our lives that affect us with our mental health and the things that we may be dealing with. And so you are welcome to go to our website. And today's program is going to be one I think that might touch many of your lives. And so you can call into the radio station if you have any questions during this time. Because today I have a special guest with us, and her name is Nagazi, and I'm going to have you say your last name for me.
Yes. So my name is Nagazi Ashibagu.
There. Oh, that wasn't so bad. I was
Yeah.
just afraid to say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, good morning, Nagazi.
Good
How are
morning.
you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
That's wonderful.
Good. I was looking forward to having you come
Yeah,
today.
thank you for having me. I truly do
Yeah.
appreciate it because it is always an honor and a privilege to be able to be out in the community and advocate for something you believe in and that you know is affecting so many people in many
Yeah.
different ways.
And
So yeah,
affecting people every
every
too.
single day. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Nagazi is with the Fort Bend County Women's Center, and she works out of the Richmond office and also the Stafford office. And so today we're going to be talking about actually overcoming issues with relationships, overcoming domestic abuse, which of course all begins with relationships, not getting into a relationship, that could happen, mainly overcoming it. And you counsel our wonderful women all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
affects the moms, the children, and all of that. So tell us more about what you do at the Women's Center.
Yeah. So at Fort Bend County Women's Center, as you mentioned, I originally started off as a counselor. And so not just women, but there's a common misconception that domestic violence and sexual assault, which we also do work with clients and victims and survivors of that as well, is just women. And majority of our population is women, right? But we do have clients who are children. We have clients who are males. And we see them come in because, like we said, this affects so many different people from all walks of life, right? It knows no socioeconomic background, no race background, no age background.
Correct.
It's an array of people. And there, I originally started off as a counselor, just journeying with them and helping them process and just empowering them.
Right.
And I now work as a neurofeedback clinician where I have the opportunity to retrain the brain from PTSD symptoms, depression, anxiety, inability to focus, just feeling of not complete, right? I hear a lot of that with the
Right.
clients that I work with. So now I do both, right? I have the privilege and the opportunity to do both with my clients, which is amazing. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I've heard a lot of really good things about neurofeedback, like you said, in those areas. And with our organization too, we also work with our veterans and
Yeah.
first responders, and they go through a lot of things too. And I know that works well in many areas,
Yeah, it
like
does.
you were talking
It does.
about.
It does.
So
It does.
great.
Yeah.
And that's so important, definitely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and like you said, this is a hard topic, but it can be overcome.
Yeah.
Overcome, excuse me. Overcome, let's see. Yeah.
Yeah. Tomato,
So,
tomato.
that's right, exactly, right,
Yeah.
whichever one. So,
Yeah.
we both had to drive a long way in rain,
Yeah.
so maybe my brain's a little muddled right now, I'm not sure. But anyway, tell us more about what the Women's Center is all about and how do women and men and children get help?
Yeah. So what the Women's Center, we see it as this holistic approach to helping women, men, because we do have clients and children, right? And it's this
Right.
holistic approach where we look towards helping the woman wholly, right? Like healing wholly. And so what that looks like is helping them with housing, helping them get back on their feet with jobs, case management, as far as crisis intervention, looking at helping them with counseling for mental health issues or emotional issues that they're dealing with, psychological issues, helping them learn pieces with finances, getting a job.
Right.
So it's all these different moving parts, and we as a center come together from each of our areas of expertise, and we work to build that woman back up so that she can have an empowered life and live her best life. Right. Yeah.
Because I know I've been fortunate to be able to
Yeah.
volunteer for several years in the Women's Center also, and not as much now with our nonprofit and that type of thing keeps us busy with that. But I know a lot of times what happens with the women is, of course, their self-esteem is so low
Yeah.
because they have big. That's happened, and I assume it can happen with the men too. And of course, we know that little children are very confused about everything,
Yeah.
and sometimes scared and that type of thing.
Yeah. So with that self-esteem part, the way that I describe it for clients, right? Because sometimes you'll have clients who will come in, and I've heard this as a clinician, that they'll come in and they'll say, I was this confident person, right? I don't know how this happened to me, right? How could this have happened to me? And how I describe it is we look at the cycle of violence, right? And it's a threefold type of cycle. And so what it normally starts off is with the honeymoon phase. Like I use this analogy with all my clients, right? With my teen, because I have teen clients, right? So
Right.
I have teen clients, I have adult women clients, and even elderly women clients. And I use this analogy. I say, look, if you go on a date and you all sit down and you order your food and he orders his food and the waiter brings out the food and he doesn't like his food, the partner, and all of a sudden he flips the table upside down and you're sitting there, would you stay on that date? Like, no one in their right mind would stay on that date, right? You'll probably say, you know what, hold that thought for me real quick. Let me go ahead and go to the restroom. And you'll be like calling your Uber, right? Like you'll be
That's
out the door,
right.
right? It doesn't look that way. And that's the thing that people don't understand. Domestic violence isn't black and white.
Right.
It isn't
Right.
dry cut. It isn't all or nothing, right? It's very gray and it's very intricate. And so what happens is, I call it the honeymoon phase in that cycle of violence, right? They have to reel you in. They present themselves as Prince Charming. They cater you. They wine. They dine you. They compliment you and shower you. And this is amazing. This is what most healthy relationships should look like, right?
Right.
But in an
Right.
abusive relationship, this is what we call the honeymoon phase, because the idea is to win you in, right? The idea is to get you in and to make you fall in love with them, right? But then you'll notice that second phase in the cycle of violence is what we call the tension building phase, right? So then you'll notice little things that they used to compliment you on, like maybe your laugh or your jokes
Right.
or different things of that nature, right? Now all of a sudden they become an issue. They start to criticize you. They start to belittle you. They start to make you feel incompetent, right? Like you're not capable enough, right? And so they start speaking these things. And because they've showered you, right, and put you on this pedestal, you start to believe that, well, maybe there is some truth to that, right? And so now you second guess yourself, right? So then we go into that third phase, and that's what we call the explosion phase. And that looks, it's the all out war is what I call it. So that can be all out abuse, where it'll be maybe the first hit, right? Or it'll be a push, or it will be maybe a snatching of something, or just it looks different, or just an all right verbal attack, emotional attack, right? But how they get you back, oh, I'm so sorry, it'll never happen again, right? Or they bring you flowers. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to say those things. I had a past of my own. I'm so sorry. I'm dealing with my own issues. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, we are in 2020. If you
Right.
are aware that you have issues, go take care of that, right?
There's
Don't put
help
it-
out
There
there.
is help out there.
Yes,
And
yes,
we,
yeah.
mental health has been talked about so much that it is becoming normalized to talk about your therapy experience. So there is no shame in seeking help,
Absolutely.
And so what I
Especially
like
if
to,
you're hurting someone else.
exactly, right?
Well, like you said, it can be emotional or physical.
Or
Either
physical
one.
or
Yeah.
verbal, right? Or that's when we get into that power and control. But
Right.
going back to the cycle of violence, right? So the attack. And then we go back into the honeymoon phase. And I like to call the honeymoon phase at this part the recapture phase, because that's how they have to reel you back in. right? Because you
Mhm.
can't leave now, right? So they
Right.
reel you back in. So what you'll notice is you get trapped in this cycle because there is this belief, there is this hope that number one, this person will change. There is this belief that, well, they didn't mean to do it, right? And little by little, pieces of you start to fall away, right? Things that made you who
Right.
you are, right?
Right.
Things that
Makes you don't even know who you
you
are
are
anymore.
anymore,
Mhm.
right? You
Mhm.
start to
Correct.
disappear. And then
Mhm.
before you know
Mhm.
it, right, the person that you were,
Mhm.
you're just a shell of who you are.
Mhm.
And that's where that self-esteem piece comes in, right? And so that's why you meet a lot of clients who have very low self-esteem because
Right.
they've been trapped in this cycle of violence. And
Mhm.
then, so when you're even looking at that cycle of violence, you got to take into account that power and control will,
Mhm.
right? Because
Mhm.
that's
Sure.
essentially what abuse is, right?
Right.
I think there's this common misconception, and I do a lot of psychoeducation with my clients in the
Mhm.
beginning, is there's
Mhm.
this misconception that abuse is just physical. And that's not what it
Mhm.
is. Abuse is
Mhm.
power and control. And how I simply define it with clients is someone wanting power
Mhm.
and control over every aspect of your life. That means
Mhm.
finances, that means emotionally, that means physical, that means sexual, that means with kids, that means exerting male privilege, that looks like
Mhm.
isolation from your
Mhm.
support system.
Mhm.
And that one then is very tricky and dangerous
Mhm.
because what happens is
Mhm.
you start to believe their
Mhm.
worldview and their ideas about you because they'll isolate you from family and friends. So now you don't have ideas to
Mhm.
bounce that off of, right?
Right, or someone to talk to
Or
say,
someone
"Look,"
to like,
and
yes,
right, and to
right.
make you aware. So it just makes you
Exactly.
feel like you're just, you are what they're
They're saying,
saying,
yeah, yeah,
because
because
that's
you
all
have,
you have.
that's all you have. And remember that cycle
Mhm.
of violence is
Mhm.
so deadly because what
Mhm.
happens is that
Mhm.
honeymoon phase,
Right.
it gets smaller and
Yeah.
smaller. And then that tension
Mhm.
building phase, it gets
Mhm.
bigger and bigger. So
Mhm.
you feel as though you're
Mhm.
walking
Mhm.
on eggshells all the time,
Mhm.
right? And I tell
Mhm.
clients all the
Mhm.
time, there is nothing you
Yeah.
can do. You can dot your I's and cross your T's, but
Mhm.
they will always
Right.
find a way, right?
I know I met a woman one time that said, well, she said at that time she
Hmm.
wasn't ready to leave the
Yeah.
relationship. And she said, well, if I just had dinner ready on time, it's probably my fault because that's why I got angry, And so it just, to an outsider, you think, wait a minute, something's wrong here. But
Yeah.
like you said, exactly, you get so pulled into
Hmm.
it yourself that
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
know.
You don't know. You
No,
don't
you
know.
don't know who you are anymore,
Yeah,
like I
you don't
said.
know who
Yeah.
you are anymore. And with that anger piece,
No.
because I hear a lot of that with clients, you mentioned that you met that woman who said, well, if I just have
Mhm.
dinner ready, he wouldn't
Mhm,
get so
mhm,
angry. And I hear
mhm,
clients say
mhm,
that all the time in the
mhm,
beginning
mhm,
stages.
mhm.
Well, he
Right.
says, I got him angry. So
Mhm,
I dispel
mhm,
it
mhm,
automatically.
mhm,
This is the one
mhm.
thing that I always use with
Right.
clients. I say, okay, you got him angry. Let's talk
Mhm,
about that real
mhm.
quick. And
Yeah.
so let's talk about that. So
Right.
when he goes to work
Mhm.
and a coworker gets him angry, does he hit his coworker?
Well, that's a good way to
Right?
show an example.
Exactly, right?
Right.
Because we all
Mhm,
get angry
mhm,
when he
mhm,
gets in
mhm, mhm.
traffic, when the person
Right.
doesn't deliver his coffee on time. Does he
Mhm,
hit the
mhm,
bartista, right?
mhm,
So that if he does not do that,
mhm.
right, that lets us know
No,
that there
right.
is a level of
Mhm,
control over our anger, and he
mhm,
chooses not
mhm,
to exercise that
mhm.
control when it comes to you.
And so he's able to do that,
Hmm.
but he knows he can overwhelm girlfriend, wife,
Yeah.
whoever it
Right.
is,
He
and can get
chooses,
away
yeah,
with it. He
he
makes that
chooses it.
choice.
He makes
Yeah.
a choice. It is a
Mhm.
decision
Mhm.
that he makes.
Mhm.
It's not that you get him
Mhm.
angry, because he
Mhm.
gets angry, right?
Right. Probably
Everyone
several times a
times a day.
day.
You
Yeah.
can watch the news and get
Yeah.
angry,
Yeah. I know.
right? So, so
Exactly.
he
And I do
chooses.
get angry
You're
when I
right.
see what I see on the news these
You
days.
can get
It's like,
angry.
oh my
Like you
gosh.
can be on Facebook and all of a sudden and be
Mhm.
like, "Oh my God, my day is ruined." You know. So
That's right.
it is a choice, and
Mhm.
I mention
Absolutely.
that to the women all the time
Mhm.
because at that
Mhm.
point,
Mhm.
the positioning that they're in, the
Mhm.
where they got, they
Mhm.
really believe that it is their fault.
Right, right. And like you
Yeah.
said, a lot of times because of their self-esteem becoming low and lower and lower, then they don't feel like, well, I mean, they're afraid to leave the relationship a lot of times too, because, well, I won't be able to get a job. I'm
Hmm.
not good enough anymore.
Hmm.
that type
Well,
of thing
that's
too.
one belief, right? And
Mhm.
this is one thing that I tell a lot of clients too, and a lot of people who are essentially on the outside looking in,
Mhm.
right? Because when you are on the outside looking in, it's easy
Mhm.
to make assumptions, right? Because you're not the one experiencing it. Right. And so what happened is I describe to people there's a stat out there that says the most dangerous time for a woman, and this is a known fact in the domestic violence world, is that the most dangerous time for a woman is when she leaves the relationship. She is more likely to be killed
Mhm.
when she leaves
Mhm.
than at
Mhm.
any other point in the
Mhm.
relationship.
Wow.
Right? So
Okay.
when you start off with that heavy hitter,
Mhm.
that nugget, right?
Mhm.
People understand, okay,
Mhm.
it's not as easy,
Mhm.
it's not as cut as dry as you may
Mhm.
think it is
Mhm.
to just pack your bags and
Right.
leave, right?
Right.
Because now someone's life is on the
Mhm.
line. So even as a
Mhm.
clinician,
Mhm.
I never tell a woman
Mhm.
to leave. Right? No
Mhm.
clinician who
Mhm.
works in this field
Mhm.
would ever tell a woman to leave because truly these women are the expert on their lives.
Mhm.
They have lived
Mhm.
this. They know their abuser the
Mhm.
most,
Mhm.
right? Because
Mhm.
they've seen their abuser at his
Right.
worst, right? And
Mhm.
so what we do
Mhm.
is we safety plan, right?
Mhm.
We plan with them.
Mhm.
We help them navigate.
Mhm.
Okay, well, what does it look
Mhm.
like if you were to do this?
Mhm.
What would it mean for
Right.
this? Where could you go? Who could we call, right?
Mhm.
These are different things
Mhm.
that we put into
Mhm.
place, that we talk about, that we plan out, right?
Mhm.
And I want people to be
Mhm.
very aware. Oh, well,
Right. Right.
because it's as a support team, right?
Mhm.
Because that
Mhm.
person really does need
Mhm.
that support team, right? As a
Mhm.
support system, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes
Mhm.
it's like, well, she won't leave, and I don't know what to do yet.
Mhm.
Well, she
Mhm.
could be killed if she decides to leave.
Right.
So
Yeah,
maybe all you
sadly.
just need
Oh,
to
just the
do is
thought
be,
of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe all you really
Yeah.
need to just do is
Mhm.
just be that space and hold it for
Mhm.
her
Mhm.
so that when
Mhm.
she is ready, when she
Mhm.
knows she's ready,
Mhm.
right, she
Mhm.
has somewhere to go to. She has someone to run to.
Mhm. That's a great idea to say, like you said, to make a plan because when that woman or man or whatever is, of course, a child's usually with one of the parents, but to have it in your head,
Yeah,
that yes, I feel that I can do this now,
yeah,
and also to know that there's help out there for
yeah,
you,
yeah.
because like you said, this person's been, the husband or whatever boyfriend has kept them away from their family members and that type of thing, and they don't feel like they have anyone to talk to anymore,
Yeah,
and so to have a plan of here's how I'm going to do it, here's when I can go, that type of thing, that's a great way to say that.
yeah, yeah. But
Mhm.
like I said, these
Mhm.
women,
Mhm.
they are the expert.
Yeah.
Everyone, and this is not just for even the
Mhm.
population. I believe this
Mhm.
for all
Mhm.
people. You are the
Right.
expert on your life because you have walked in your
Mhm.
own shoes,
Mhm.
right? You have
That's true.
experienced what
Mhm.
you've experienced,
Right.
right? And so you know every moving part
Mhm.
about the
Mhm.
person that you
Mhm.
are in relationship
Mhm.
with, right?
Mhm.
But like I
Mhm.
said, the most dangerous
Yeah.
time is when a woman leaves. She is more likely to be
Mhm.
killed, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that even is escalated if she's pregnant. Right.
Mhm.
So I think we have to think. So
Mhm.
these are all
Mhm.
types of different moving parts that
Wow.
come into place. A lot of people
Mhm.
always say, "Oh, well, her
Mhm.
self-esteem
Mhm.
is low, and that's why she won't leave." No, that
Mhm.
she may just
Mhm. Mhm.
know he's
Maybe
gonna kill her.
afraid.
Right,
Right.
because I've
Oh
had
yeah.
clients in the past. Because Fort Bend
Mhm.
Women's Center isn't
Mhm.
my first
Mhm.
domestic violence agency. I
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
a counseling intern at a
Mhm.
domestic violence
Mhm.
agency
Mhm.
in Baltimore City. So I
Oh.
had clients out
Mhm.
there who,
Mhm.
no, he's gonna kill me. So
Mhm. Mhm.
he has to be in the home. I had a client
Mhm.
in Baltimore um,
Mhm.
who had an active protective order,
Mhm. Mhm.
but he lived in the home because she knew he had
Mm.
nothing to lose.
Mm. Mhm.
So if he didn't
Wow.
stay there, right,
Mhm.
he would
Mhm.
kill her and the kids. She
Mm.
knew
It was
that.
for her own protection to
Her
actually
own
have him
protection.
there,
Right. And so understanding that,
Mm.
and that's probably even the
Mhm.
hardest part
Mhm.
as a counselor, sitting in that. But all I
Right.
can do is hold that space for her, give her the support,
Mhm.
the emotional place
Mhm.
that she can
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
to kind of air out everything that she's kind of
Right.
built up for the week.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
safety plan weekly,
Mhm.
crisis
Mhm.
intervention
Mhm.
weekly,
Mhm.
right? This is
Mhm.
what it looks
Mhm.
like. Yeah.
And I know, of course, the shelters. There's obviously a women's center in
Hmm.
Houston. I'm not sure how many all there are, but there's a lot around.
Yeah.
So if you are in a situation like this yourself and you feel like your safety plan is ready, or you want to call and get a safety
Safety plan.
plan, there's a
Definitely
lot of places.
reach out to those
Mhm.
different organizations
Mhm.
because there
Mhm.
are organizations
Yeah.
within Fort Bend County, Houston, Bay
Mhm.
Area,
Mhm.
Montgomery County. Like we are
Mhm.
all here
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
provide the services that
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
need, right? to get you the freedom that you
Right.
rightly deserve as a human being, right? Like
Absolutely. Yeah,
just
we
being a
all
human being.
deserve to have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
something that is your birthright, right? So,
Mhm. Now, is there some way, and you may not know this answer, but how do you know when you're dating someone that I don't know, you don't have a crystal ball that doesn't say, "Oh, don't get involved with this man because
yeah.
here's what's going to happen in 6 months or a year."
Yeah.
Is there any way for those of our audience that's watching right now that signs that you could look for when you're dating so that this doesn't happen?
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
like you said, there is no crystal
Yeah.
ball, right?
Right.
There isn't one, right? Which is unfortunate. We all wish we
Yes.
could be like a
Yeah.
Miss Cleo or 1-800-999 California Psychics, right? But unfortunately, that is not the case. So, what I do with clients in the beginning with my clients who come in,
Mhm.
who have now started to heal from the process and get
Mhm.
the language of what domestic violence is and to be able to name what they're feeling and what they've experienced, right? We talk about red flags, right? I believe one of the biggest form of prevention, right, is education, right? Because if you
Mhm.
I tell clients all the time because they say these things like, well, I just didn't know. Well, here's the thing, right?
Mhm.
They're not teaching what red flags look like in middle school or high school, right?
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
2 plus 2 is 4 because they teach
Mhm.
math. You know where to put
Mhm.
your periods, you know where to put your exclamation points because
Mhm.
you learned
Mhm.
English,
Mhm.
right? You know
Mhm.
all these
Mhm.
different things because it was
Right.
taught to you, right?
Mhm.
I think that if
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
start teaching what red flags look like, right,
Mhm. Mhm.
then we can
Mhm.
prevent a lot of things
Right.
because you got to remember
Mhm.
we're fighting
Mhm.
against social
Mhm.
media too because there is
Mhm.
this
That's true. You
normalizing
bet.
of
Mhm.
of what
Mhm.
abuse,
Mm.
romantic abuse looks like with
Mhm.
your Grey's
Yeah.
Anatomy and
Exactly.
50 Shades of Grey. Like they normalize this stuff, right? And it doesn't look like that
Mhm.
at all. It is false. That is a narrative that
Mhm.
does not exist.
Mhm.
That is
Right.
Hollywood, right?
Mhm.
And so with clients, a lot of times is well, I educate
Mhm.
them on what red flags look like, right?
Mhm.
So what does it
Mhm.
look like when he all of a sudden goes from 0 to 10, right?
Mhm.
In an
Mhm.
argument,
Mm,
you know,
mhm,
like that
mhm,
piece.
mhm,
So with my teen clients or with
mhm,
teens that I
mhm,
meet,
mhm.
I talk about, okay, so you have like after school programs, right? Like you stay
Right.
after curricular
Mhm,
activities. Like
mhm,
if he's popping up at your activities, watch that, right? Not
mhm,
necessarily like,
mhm,
oh,
mhm.
cut and dry, cut them loose, but watch it. I call them
Right.
golden nuggets.
Mhm,
And you kind of just tuck
mhm,
it in the back of
mhm,
your head and you just watch
mhm,
it, right?
mhm,
If he's popping
mhm,
up at your
mhm,
after school job,
mhm,
right? Why are you at my after school
mhm,
job all the time?
mhm,
Right? Oh, if he
mhm,
says, oh, well, I just want to be around
yeah.
you. No,
Mhm,
you should probably have your own stuff going on, right? Because there's that autonomy piece, that
mhm,
independence piece, right? That you
mhm.
got your stuff
Because
going on.
you're dating. You're
Exactly. You're
not
not married.
married. Oh,
You're
that's
not
right.
married. Right? And even if you're married, he
Yeah,
shouldn't be popping
yeah,
up and don't
yeah.
you got a job?
Right.
Like we're supposed to be working
Yeah,
together.
exactly.
Right? So looking at that, right? If he's
Mhm,
another piece that I always look at
mhm,
because like I
mhm.
said, abuse isn't cut and dry, right?
Correct,
It's
yeah.
very gray. So we're
Mhm,
looking at this. So
mhm,
it's really taking
mhm,
it like, okay,
mhm,
what is
mhm,
this? Right? So if
mhm,
someone wants to take your
mhm,
phone all the time and look through your phone, oh, I'm just looking,
mhm.
looking at your
The
pictures, but they're missions
suspicious,
piece,
they're kind
right?
of
Or
suspicious,
they start
yeah.
to make you feel
Mhm,
guilty for wanting to hang out
mhm,
with your
mhm,
friends or hang out with
mm,
family.
mm. I see what you're
Like,
saying,
why are
yeah.
they trying to make you feel guilty?
Right.
Slowly
Mhm,
starting to isolate you
mhm,
from your support system.
mhm,
Well, I never get to
mhm,
see you. Yeah, you saw me
mhm.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. What are you talking about, right? But you know, like that's
Right.
what it looks like,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And so
Gotcha.
it starts to look at, oh, well, my mom taught me that
Mhm,
women are supposed to wait on men.
mm,
Right, that male
mhm,
privilege piece,
mhm.
right? Well, or
Right.
even spiritual abuse. Well, the Bible
Mhm.
says
Mm.
wives are supposed to
Yeah.
submit to their husbands. Oh, but what's the rest of that
Yeah,
scripture? Is what I
you
tell
didn't.
guys.
You're not paying
You're not
attention to the
right.
rest
You're
of that
not. What's
paragraph.
the rest of that say? And
That's
I tell clients,
right.
I'll tell clients will come in and say, well, the Bible. I say, well, can you bring? What does the rest of that say? Let's read that together.
Exactly.
So now, what does that mean?
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
exactly. You haven't read the whole
Uh,
paragraph here,
ex-
so we're
uh,
not getting the whole story here.
right. So really paying
Right.
attention to that, like these
Mhm,
red flags,
mhm,
like what does it
mhm,
look like? Making you feel guilty or ashamed if you don't want
mhm,
to do the
mhm,
things that they want to do, right?
mhm, mhm,
Belittling
mhm,
things that make you you. right? Maybe accomplishments you have, right? Talents that you have, gifts, skills, right? Making you feel guilty about, say, if you're in high school and you're getting ready to
Yeah.
go off to college,
Right.
right? Because um, we see it early, right? You are more likely to be a victim of domestic violence when you are in your teens. So we're talking about 14 all the way up to that age range of 36. That's where really the target is, right? And so with teen clients or my adolescents, looking at it and like saying like, oh, I'm getting ready to go off to college, right? I don't want you to go away to school, right? I need you to be with me. I need you to be with me. What does that mean? Why do you need me, right?
Instead of what is that need? If you love them so much, you
Much
want the best for
for
them
them,
instead.
exactly,
So,
exactly. And as I mentioned, it unfortunately we don't have a crystal ball. It's
right.
not black and white. It's not all or nothing. It is really taking it piece by piece and looking at it for what it is. Yeah.
And so let's say, for example, we have about 4 minutes left
Okay.
here. That went fast.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, relationships are very intricate and
Yeah.
confusing sometimes
Yeah.
and so on. But the whole thing is, what you're doing and other people are doing to help women
Yeah.
and men, like you said too. And of course, I've seen the women and the children and so
Yeah.
on, how they're affected, and it's
Yeah.
just it's very sad. But that we're very thankful there's people like yourself out there that can help.
Yeah.
So let's say that I'm nervous, that something's happening in my relationship or whatever. So they would call the Women's Center, of course,
Yes.
and then you sit down with them and say, here's the plan until they're ready. And so just kind of walk me through the steps. We have about 2 minutes left. So that's not very long for you to walk down the
Oh,
steps.
I was
is it?
trying to walk this. It looks different for every woman, right? So
Right,
every woman is different
right.
because every woman is in different stages of their relationship, and some are not even in relationship anymore. Some just want the healing from the past abusive relationship, right? And
Oh,
so what
good.
that normally looks like is you will come in for an intake process with our case managers. And the reason why it's so important to get with the case managers is because they are this a la carte, right? They not only, once they hear your story, right, they know exactly what referrals to put in, what resources to gather for you, right, so that we can get you on
Right.
the path to healing, right, so that you can be empowered to live your best life, right? And so with these case managers, they are like the creme de la creme of our organization, right? Because they're doing that amazing work. They're seeing
Right.
so many clients on a daily basis, making sure that they get what they need, right? And so once they put in those different referrals, you will either make it to counseling, be based off of whatever you need. If it's housing needs, if it's neurofeedback, if it's job training, like all those different moving parts,
Right.
right? And so after you go through the case management process, typically that's where I will come in if I get a referral for counseling or for with neurofeedback. And that's when I will reach out to you and schedule an appointment and then bring you on in,
And
right?
go from
And go
there.
from there.
So,
And go
so
from
for
there.
you that are watching right now, that some of you may be going through this right now in your life, and that would not surprise me if we have thousands of women
Yeah.
going through that
Yeah.
right now,
Because
and
the stat
others
is 1 in
too.
4 women are
Wow.
victims of domestic violence
Yeah,
or
that's
sexual assault.
high.
1 in 4. So just count 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Right. Right.
And
And
someone
it's
in your
going
friend
on out
group,
there.
right?
Right, and I think, like you said, that the one reason I did want you to come on is to educate, because talking about mental health, my goodness,
Yeah.
you're depressed, you're sad, you
Yeah.
have anxiety, all of
Hyper
that is
flashbacks, hyper
happening.
vigilance, right? You're
Right,
looking
probably
at the
not able to
sleep and
sleep.
insomnia, yes, not no
Right.
ability to eat, right, or eating too much to
Mhm.
cope, like all
Mhm.
these different things,
Mhm.
just feeling stuck,
Mhm.
right? The biggest one is feeling
Mhm.
stuck,
Yeah.
right? The one thing that
Right.
I hear the most is feeling empty.
That's true. I could see that. Right, right. And knowing whether you have children or not, that you still need to be there. And,
Be
and
there.
plus, ladies, you're the most important thing in the world.
World. Yeah, right. I say you
You are.
educate a woman,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
can educate a
Mhm.
nation.
Mhm.
That
I
I
agree.
learned that, and it
And
stuck
guys,
with
you're,
me.
you're important too.
Right.
The nice ones.
Right. Yeah.
Well, whether you're a woman or a man and you're going through
Yeah.
this, that we as humans deserve to be treated well. Like you said,
Yeah.
it's a birthright.
It is something that
And
you
yeah, yeah,
deserve. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I want to let you all know that we will be having neurofeedback on April 1st, and
Yes.
thank you for coming back. And I know that you're all going to want to hear what that's like, but thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
having me. I do appreciate
absolutely.
it. Thank you.
Yes, well, you're welcome. This is a very important message, and thank you all, and have a great rest of your week. And we'll see you next Thursday. Bye bye.